Hi, students. How are you doing? Welcome to Sim, and thank you all so much for all the love and support. Hope you all are doing great. So today we'll be talking something very important, and it's about a video that I came across about a pop-colored woman where she was talking that what she said that most of the people that were taken during slavery back from Africa down to America were all people that helped jumpstart uh, American economy, which is not lie. I have been saying this several times that the people that they picked were all kings and queens. They knew what they were looking for and they went straight to what they were looking for. Sometimes I hear people say that black people were uneducated or the slaves that they took were uneducated. Some said that they are savages and all that. That is not true. I want you all to know that most of the people that were taken from here were all they got their formal educations, which was taught to them in their own language, right? So now let's talk about the kings and queens that they picked that helped them jumpstart their economy. They took doctors, they took nurses, they took lawyers, they took teachers, they took goldsmiths, they took farmers, they took builders because I remember during the period that they started that slaves benefited slavery, that they were able to acquire skills. I want you to know that nothing benefited them. Most of the skills they had was what they came from their own place to where they met themselves. You know what? Let's get into this.
Hi, it's Quainer here. I want you to watch this video of what this lady's going to say, and I'm guilty of it as well. And I didn't realize, or the penny didn't drop until I actually went to Ghana and I saw things for myself. She starts off the video by saying white people, but it keeps bloody jumping. I can't seem to get it to start there. So she starts off by saying white people. Let's go.
Question for you, and if you would, I would like for you to think about this critically and logically. When you envision the transatlantic slave trade and you picture in your mind the hundreds of thousands of African bodies who were forced onto ships to be taken to various places throughout the world and sold into slavery, what kinds of people do you picture? The reason that I ask is because I can almost guarantee that through indoctrination and by design, the vast majority of you picture uneducated, uncivilized, and in your mind what a savage would look like. And you have to ask yourself, why is that? And does it make sense? The white settlers had already failed to create some type of economy here in North America so many times before. They had failed over and over and over again. So many had starved. Europeans didn't even want to go anymore because the idea of starving or getting an arrow through the heart didn't seem appealing to them because that's all that was happening over and over and over again. They had already killed so many indigenous people. So you think that they specifically then sought after the most uneducated and uncivilized human beings that they could think of to come here to jumpstart their economy. Does that make any sense? Does it make any sense that the people of the continent of Africa had survived for thousands of years and cultivated that land long before the transatlantic slave trade started? It doesn't make any sense. Logically, it doesn't make sense. And so you have to ask yourself, what is the number one thing that is different between the Europeans and the Africans that it would be so easy for Europeans to use as a way to create apathy amongst the masses? Skin color. They looked differently, but they were educated and they could work, and they saw that. So they specifically sought after them because they knew that they could create a false narrative that these individuals were uncivilized, uneducated, and like throwaway people. And they were put here to work for the white men, and thus birthed white supremacy. But the truth of the matter is that the individuals who were forcibly loaded onto those ships were botanists, philosophers, astronomers, doctors. The list goes on and on and on. They were vital assets to their communities, and they were thriving in Africa. As a matter of fact, at one point, the white settlers, colonists, Europeans, whatever the fuck you want to call them, the white people, specifically sought after a group of women from a region in Africa where these women cultivated rice. And now cultivating rice is a very labor intensive process. It breeds bacteria and it's incredibly dangerous. But these women were pros at it. They were super intelligent and they knew what they were doing. And the white men wanted them to come do it for them in the Carolinas. And so that's what they did. They created this false sense of superiority that has lingered on to today. Africans that were brought here jump-started this economy. And they have never, ever, ever been shown credit where it is due. They've never been given any type of reparations from jump-starting this economy and creating the very country that we live in today. Truly. And if you don't believe me, if you don't believe that these were educated and highly valuable people, I want you to go read up on the Stono Rebellion. It was one of the largest slave rebellions that literally shut the transatlantic slave trade down for years following that. And after that, the chattel slave owners were basically told that the goal was to basically SA the women so that they can create slaves who were born here and knew no different. They then believed that slaves who were born in Africa would be a lot more difficult to train and they were a lot less malleable. They could dumb them down a little bit, get rid of some of that education and just make them work. They just wanted the work aspect of it. They didn't give a fuck about their minds at all. So I want you to truly, seriously think about that and think about, logically, does it make sense that the white man was desperately looking for a group of people to subjugate so that they could jumpstart their economy in their new world, and they specifically sought after individuals who were uneducated and uncivilized? I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me because it's not true. Have a good night.
Now, when I went to Ghana and I traveled from the north to the south, so I traveled right through Ghana in a vehicle, passing through many villages and towns and two cities. But mainly as I traveled through the villages and towns, sometimes we got out of the car, we stayed in some of them for a couple of days. I noticed the ingenuity and the cultivation, the plants that were growing around me everywhere, the abundance of plants, and how people made mechanical things out of wood. And I watched weavers weaving kente cloth with speed, like they were machines. The speed they were weaving this cloth on a machine made out of string and wood. Yeah? And I thought to myself, wait a minute. They didn't take Africans just because they could. They took them for their knowledge. They took them for their skill at farming and cultivating the land. It suddenly dawned on me. That's why. Exactly what she just said. But I didn't read it from a book, or I grew up, just like she said at the beginning, you watch all these films with these savages and uncivilized people, and these white saviors came along and brought them to the new world and civilized them whilst enslaving them. No, they took people who had knowledge. Because what's the point of taking people who didn't know how to do anything? They took people who knew how to make that land that they could not get anything to grow on, how to get it to make it grow things. They took people that knew how they could chop down a tree and make cultivating machines out of it, make plows, make saws. They took people for their knowledge. Nothing but their knowledge, also their resilience, their strength, their resilience to withstand disease, their resilience to work all day in the sun, their strength. That's why they took them. And I thought to myself, wow, when I saw it for myself and it dawned on me, the Africans were taken for their knowledge and their expertise at farming and cultivation. and surviving.
So this is all I got from this video, and I don't think whatever she said is new. I don't think, yeah, I have said this several times here that, people always say Africans are these, Africans are like, probably the people they took from Africa back to America during slavery. That, they did not know anything, or they were just commoners. And I have told you all several times that that is not true. They really knew what they were doing, and the reality and the truth is that they went for the very best. I have said this several times. They knew what they wanted, and they went for the very, when I said they went for the very best, they went for the very best. They took the very best, starting from the king, the queens, the doctors, the lawyers, the blacksmith, the farmers, the goldsmith too, and a lot of them. So when people come out to say that, sometimes they say that they were savages and all that, of black people are savages and that. But then when you look around, you definitely will know who the real savages are and the rest of it. Yeah. So they actually took the very best. And that is on period. You don't have to argue this. And they knew what they were doing because they needed people to jumpstart their economy. And that was what they did. That was what they did. And the fact that sometimes we think that when a colored person says something, I think people hear, like, listen to what they say and the rest of it. But black people who have been saying this, because most of this, I think I remember when I was told to make research and all that, I was able to do some certain things, and I also saw it. And some of them also were also able to say it, that they knew, because sometimes they said that they were not educated. Who told you they were not educated? The only thing some of them could not speak was English, because it is not our native language. Yeah. Was it our language? Of course not. People in Ghana Ghanaians have their language. Even people in Vaults, different places, they have their languages. People in Nigeria have their languages, right? People from different places, Yoruba, Igbos, and Hausa, they have what they speak, probably coupled with broken English, right? And let's say Cameroonians, they speak their language. So saying that they were uneducated is a lie. They went to school. And they went to school in their own language. They were taught in their own language. Yeah, they taught them in their own language. So what is wrong with that? So there is nothing new about what she's saying, though she said the truth, right? That's why when they started with saying that our slavery benefited slaves, you all remember how it was a problem, that nobody refused to accept that, because that was not true. Because majority of the people that came back then are already made. They were already made. They did not pick a commoner. They did not go to the roadside to pick people. They knew the people they wanted and they went for it straight up. So there was no commoner, or nobody that doesn't have what, all of them. Because I still remember back then, a woman, if peradventure you were pregnant while they got you and all that, they still have to let you know. Sorry, they still have to keep you one side to have the child before they will continue with you. So they did not want people they will start, because at some point they did not want people they will start nurturing or start. They want people that will yield fruit straight up. And that was the people they got. People that started yielding fruit. So when you all remember still that when they took them and then they started, they were in plantation, and it was at that point that they found out that we can be doing this, you can't be going back and forth. And what did they do? They started the breeding plantation. Or some of you all did not know that there was also breeding plantation. For those that always come around to tell us it was 100 years ago, get over it. And not just only that, that was also when they started breaking. See, each time we talk about reparations, I'm sorry that I'm getting into that reparation, but it's still from where we started. Slaves benefited slavery and all that. Let me tell you all something. Each time we talk about reparations, we are not telling you because of only slavery. We talk about reparation because Black people deserve reparations. And because of everything you all put them through and all that. So in conclusion, I am also going to say that they knew the people that they came down to pick. They did not pick every other person. And they did not pick unintelligent people. They picked the brilliant ones. They picked the kings and the queens. They picked the educated ones. They picked the already made ones. The ones that had something doing. The ones that were going to be productive for them. Because they did not want to waste time. All they wanted them to do. Oh, sorry, did I forget? They also picked engineers. Construction engineers. Builders. They took all of them. So they knew what they were doing and they went for what they wanted. So if you ever hear that they were uneducated or they were not this, they were not, you all should know that is a lie from the pit of hell. See you all in my next video. Bye for now.